Hi, I'm Joshua, and this is Tag Team More History, and today we're going to talk about the Renaissance and the power shift to the West.
Oh, Mr. Riddle! Mr. Riddle!
Yes, female me who looks literally nothing like me?
What power shift to the West?
Well, I'm glad you asked. The Renaissance included many different significant factors which contributed to this power shift, including the Reformation, Enlightenment, Scientific Revolution, and the start of the Age of Exploration.
Oh, Mr. Riddle! Mr. Riddle!
Yes, female me.
What about the introduction thingy stuff?
Well, that's really important. I have to look at camera 2. In the time period between 1450 and 1750, Western Europe became the hub of global power due to a new age of colonization in the Americas and significant scientific advancements in technology and the philosophical understanding of the universe, which undermined the authority of the Catholic Church and brought a new age of wealth and prosperity to the Western world. Alright, so, the Reformation occurred over a period of time that never really ended until 100 years after the 30 Years' War, a bloody religious war with a rather creative name that started in 1618 and ended, oddly enough, 30 years later. Wonder why that could be. Anyway, the Reformation began with Martin Luther, who I suppose I should explain a little bit about, shouldn't I? No, not that one! There we go. Martin Luther. Martin Luther was born in Germany in 1483 to a fairly low-class family. His family devoted all they could to his education as a lawyer, but he ended up caught in a bad storm during which he swore that if he survived, he would become a monk. Lo and behold, he did, and he became a monk later that month. As he started learning, he found that life didn't really seem to fit him very well, finally growing more accustomed to it after his teacher told him to focus more on Christ, which led to his eventual studies. Several years later, he was on a Bible himself, which was a big deal at the time.
Oh, Mr. Riddle! Mr. Riddle!
What?
Why is it such a big deal that Luther got a Bible?
Well, I'm glad you asked when I was about to say it anyway. Presently, multiple versions of the Bible can be found in every language, including Klingon and Pirate, but before Luther himself translated it into German, it was available only in Latin, and only to those in the highest power of the Church. When he managed to read it, he realized that there were some practices of the Catholic Church that weren't quite aligned with what was written. He summarized his problems into a document known as his 95 Theses, which he nailed to the door of the church, an action that was considered completely socially acceptable at the time. His issues were pretty much completely discarded by the higher-ups at first, but eventually it led into a split and the beginnings of the Protestant branch of Christianity. As Protestant beliefs grew in prominence, the Catholic Church's power started to fade, and the political leaders began distancing themselves from religious influence. Now, naturally everybody has some bias or another, but during and after that time period, the political dominance of the Catholic Church dissipated, giving the political leaders themselves much more power as something other than a figurehead. You may be wondering, what were some of Luther's problems with the Catholic practices? Well, many of his issues focused on indulgences, which were papers sold by the Church that were said to cut down time in the ethereal limbo of purgatory. Nowhere in his readings did he find mentions of the ability to literally buy salvation, so he considered it a bit of an issue. Naturally, he blamed the Pope at the time, Pope Leo X, which makes sense. I mean, come on now. Look at this hat! With a hat that big, there have to be some dark secrets hidden in there somewhere. Hey! What? I was just discussing the corruption of the Catholic Church at the time, most of which has not lasted to this day. And where was I? Funny hats. That's right. That was...
Okay, alright. Allow me to elaborate a bit on what... Problem, Josh?
Yes, I do indeed have a problem. One of such gravity that can only be described to camera 2.
Hey, we already used that bit.
This is a problem which can only be solved through a rap battle. Sir, Leo X, I beg that you hear me. I mean no offense. Just look at these theses. I've outlined among them the problems I've found in the church all around which nobody else sees.
What problems you found? You must be mistaken. With what ideas have you been recently taken?
Well, yes, sir, you see, I've been reading God's word, and some things that I've witnessed are simply absurd. These indulgences, for one, they're not mentioned in here, nor relics or anything like them, I fear.
These relics, these saints, all these is tradition. The people, they need us, they thrive on submission. The indulgences bring hope, it's where penance begins, and the church needs the funds, so everyone wins.
From reading the Bible, I say this for certain. The path this church walks is one of destruction. The brothels, the funds, the name of salvation, misleading the innocent, all signs of corruption.
What you misunderstand, young monks and scholars, that you are the one who, to me, must listen. With your ideas and your influence spreading threats to our power, you are the one who must be put in submission. You question the church without showing regret. If you refuse to recant, another arrangement must be met. All that I hear from you aligns with hearsay, and to each blasphemous soul will come their judgment day. I'm sure you're just misled, a youth with a loud voice. You'll do what's right when given a choice. Do what is best for us all, and submit to me. Let the rule of the church be the lens through which you see.
You ask me to submit, I cannot oblige. The corruption of this church affects too many lives. What I seek is reform, not a part of the way, but if you refuse change, then I cannot stay. I tell you the truth, there will be those who follow, for the God that I've seen is not empty and hollow. The Lord does not give salvation in purchase with blood, only to those who give their whole lives, as if sold.
The church has no room for those such as you. We can't have rebels in power too. I know that neither of us want to split, so you'll either have to go or deal with it. You're a great asset in monk, a voice across the nation, but what you're facing now is excommunication.
You would exile me just to save your own face, yet still you would claim to be offering grace. Now it's clear to me what I must do. From without I shall change it. I must defy you. You attempt to reject me, so I'll go on my own. I'll cast off the restrictions of your Church of Rome.
I'm not letting my church be disrupted by the likes of you. I hate to say it, young Luther, but this is adieu.
Alright, now that that's finished.
Ooh, Miss Whitmore!
Yes, blonde me who looks literally nothing like me.
Did the Pope and Luther really on in time?
No one can say, curious student, but that's just the way we do things here on Tag Team. Now we move on from the Reformation to look at a new form of ideological change in Western Europe, the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment wasn't so much something you could see, and more of a philosophical and intellectual movement that occurred over an indefinite span of time. This was marked by the trend of individuals relying more on reason and individualism as opposed to tradition and religion, developing new ideas and understandings of the world around us, not always supported by the Church, which was losing power in the West. For example, the hypothesis by Copernicus that the Earth is not in fact the center of the solar system. The Sun is. The Church took offense to this, claiming that this conflicted with scripture readings such as 1 Chronicles 16:30 or one moment.
Ecclesiastes.
Alright, Ecclesiastes 1:5, the two of which state, "The Lord set the earth on its foundations, it can never be moved," and "The sun rises and sets and returns to its place," respectively. Other great scientists of the time, such as Galileo Galilei, defended Copernicus's ideas from being banned by the Church. With new up-and-coming technologies, other traditional ideals were also disproven, revealing the fault in our previous views of the stars. The Enlightenment also brought about new philosophies such as secularism, individualism, and humanism. These philosophies focused less on the divine and more on human potential and the here and now. Again, drawing power away from the Church and more towards the political structure of the West. Though these new philosophies often condemned inequality, the nobility still retained some power. The significant difference being the growing emergence of the middle class, merging the gap between peasants and nobility. On top of that, the Enlightenment impacted the West's economy, with the start of the Industrial Revolution bringing about cheap labor and easier production. So, on top of the power being ushered in, wealth was meeting Western Europe as well. And in this new age of technological advancements and the ongoing importance of trade, this growing wealth meant growing power.
Alright, on to the Age of Exploration. The Age of Exploration consisted of pretty much everyone on the continent of Europe who sails a ship trying to find something that no one else had managed to do. This includes Magellan and Christopher Columbus. Magellan discovered the Strait of Magellan, he was a bit of a vain guy there, in October of 1520, when he was trying to find a route to Asia through the Western Hemisphere. And we all know what Columbus did. Sailed the ocean blue in 1492, blah, 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 blah. The point is, he set off from Europe, more specifically Spain, even though he himself was not Spanish, but Italian.
Mr. Whittam! Mr. Whittam!
What is it now?
Did he go to the King of England, Henry VI, who disagreed with him and denied him funding before he went to Queen Isabella of Spain?
Yes, he did. But what you may not know is that he was trying to prove that he could sail around the world and get to Asia without sailing all the way around Africa. That the world was not, in fact, flat. There was no edge that you could fall off of, and subsequently you would not fall off the edge of the earth. Because falling off the edge of the earth puts a damper on everybody's fun. But all he ended up finding was the Americas. Sorry about that, Chris. But if you really think about it, in itself, discovering America isn't actually that bad. I mean, who doesn't want to be remembered throughout history as the person who started the colonization of America? Anyway, the Age of Exploration created a boom in maritime trade because it led to the colonization of the Americas, which had what the Eastern Hemisphere wanted and needed what the Eastern Hemisphere had. This helped to increase trade, thereby growing Europe's economy, wealth, and power, all helping to contribute to the power shift to the West, especially since many of those explorers were from Western Europe, so the New World, as it was called, was claimed by the rulers of those nations. Oh, it's time for the open letter.
But first, let's see what's in our secret compartment. Thank you. A griff ball? What's this doing in here? Ah, a horse. When Spanish conquistadors came over to America and wiped out the ancient Latin American civilizations, the Native Americans had never seen such a creature and assumed the Spanish were kinds of gods. A tactical advantage, I would imagine, in their part. And now for the open letter to the Native Americans. Dear Native Americans, before the Age of Exploration, you led perfectly peaceful lives off on your own separate continent. Then, the European explorers came in and pretty much screwed everything up. Of course, they did start to colonize, which eventually developed into the United States of America, in which we live presently. So it's all okay, right? Wrong. The Europeans came in and killed, confined, and ruined pretty much everything and everyone after you gave them so much hospitality. Where would we be if not for your contributions to our culture, like Thanksgiving and turkey and pumpkin pie? Hey Josh, pumpkin pie was Native American, right?
No, I don't think so.
Alright, well, whatever. Best wishes, Javen Whitney Warner. On Tag Team today, we have a very special guest with us to talk about the scientific revolution. Allow me to introduce the Director of Research and Technology at the University of Texas, Dr. Leonard Church. Now, Doctor, please tell us the significance of the scientific revolution when it comes to power shift to the West.
Well, first you have to know what the scientific revolution is. It is many things, really. The appearance of new and influx of old inventions from across the world. It is also a change in thought, the overturning of old, incorrect ideas for new ones. The scientific revolution happened mainly because of two things: the increase of trade and the idea of secularism. The former brought ideas and inventions to Western Europe, while the latter took away some of the Church's power and shifted it towards the people. Notice that secularism and trade are also two important causes of the Renaissance itself.
Well, Doctor, what of the important figures during this period?
Great minds like Nicholas Copernicus, Galileo Galilei, and Isaac Newton all made important scientific discoveries, most of which went contrary to the highly valued and trusted ideas of Aristotle, Plato, and other ancient Greek scholars. Now, it's not that Aristotle and Plato were simple-minded fools. They weren't. They simply did not have the tools to accurately test their ideas at the time. During the Renaissance, scientists had access to better tools, allowing them to discover the truth about the universe. These new discoveries went contrary to the ideas of the Church, so the Church attempted to stop these scientists. The Church failed in its task, and a new Renaissance character was emerging. People turned to science instead of the Vatican for information. Thus were born the true ideas of gravity and the heliocentric solar system, the laws of motion, and many others. This, while a majorly important aspect of the scientific revolution, did not contribute to all of it. Inventions were very important as well.
Inventions such as?
There was the matchlock used in firearms to ignite gunpowder. The matchlock was then replaced by the wheel lock, followed by the flintlock. These were major advancements in weaponry. Another European invention was the caravel, a light, quick, and very maneuverable ship invented in Portugal. The inventions of new ships and weapons started the age of exploration. Also among these incredible inventions was the submarine. It allowed people to sail underwater, allowing for easier spying and sabotage of naval forces. These inventions significantly aided European expansionism. The spinning jenny allowed for yarn production to be greatly expedited, which grew the textile trade. There were many more inventions during the scientific revolution, but these were some of the most prominent.
Thank you, Dr. Leonard Church, for your very inspiring insight. So essentially, Western Europe gained its power during the Renaissance period through the emergence of individual thought and overseas conquest, ushering in the Industrial Revolution and a new age of political standing for the West. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next class.
Tag Team is produced and directed by our AP World History group. Our script supervisors are Javen Whitney Warner, Jarvis Martin, and myself. The script is written by Javen, Megan Watts, Sergey Grozdev, and myself. Our graphics team is Javen and Megan. Thanks for watching Tag Team, and as we say in my hometown, don't forget to be awesome.
Something's intercepting my signal. Oh no, it's him.
So, apparently I was excommunicated. How very unfortunate. But I don't have much time, so I'll get straight to the point. Those people that you saw on the screen right now, don't believe them. There was no power shift to the west. Maybe towards the west in the general western direction. It would be absolutely accurate to say that Western Europe caught up with the rest of the world during the Renaissance, but it could not be considered the hub of global power until the 19th and 20th centuries. Certainly not in the 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries. What you just saw on the screen was Western-oriented propaganda spread by the Vatican to gain power. Lies. All of it. Well, most of it. They said a few true facts. They cut out quite a bit of history. But their main point, absolutely incorrect. They called Western Europe powerful for conquering isolated people with understandably primitive military technology and absolutely no immune response to these new European diseases. Anyone could have done that, including the two true powers of the time, the Ottoman Empire and China. In fact, I'd wager that the Ottoman Empire and Western Europe went to a war in the Renaissance, Western Europe would be crushed, utterly, like a bug. My time is almost up, so those people that you saw today, don't trust them. You saw what happened to Martin Luther, who was also excommunicated for spreading the truth, and excommunicated by the Vatican. Keep that in mind.